In my last video, I shared my progress learning advanced Golang by refactoring a 2D game engine built with Ebitengine. Instead of adding gameplay features, I focused on architecture, modular design, and a clean project structure. Now, it's time to start a new project. I was scrolling through YouTube when I saw a trailer for the game Free Shepherd. I loved the idea of a dog fostering a flock of sheep. Instantly, I wanted to create a 2D remake of this game using my engine. However, after a quick search, I realized there are already many games with this mechanic. After sketching out some ideas, I decided to create a platformer puzzle game where you are the shepherd and you need to rescue your lost sheep. I started the brainstorming process to define the style. I decided to go with a 1-bit design, similar to Gato Roboto and Minit. The reason I chose this style is that it's beautiful, yet makes drawing pixel art much faster. My mechanical references are Fire and Ice from the Nintendo, Mario vs Donkey Kong from the Game Boy Advance, and some juice and camera effects inspired by Celeste. I wanted to keep it as simple as possible, so the shepherd won't have a dash or a double jump. I began by drawing the shepherd and the sheep. Then I drew the dog. I forgot to mention earlier, but the shepherd has a dog that will actually be playable in certain areas. I also needed an enemy, and the perfect enemy for a sheep is a wolf, and I had a blast creating all these initial characters. The next step was drawing the first scene. I created the terrain and obstacles while keeping everything on a single screen. My initial plan was to avoid side-scrolling. Using my engine was a great move because the tilemap handling and player movement were already implemented. Here's the first preview of the game. It was rewarding to see the character finally jump through the world and interacting with platformers generated directly from the tilemap file. I also added the dog player, though I still needed to finish the walking animation. The dog's mechanics will be totally different from the shepherd, so I will be tackling that in a future update. In my previous project, Tomato, which has now become a sandbox, I created a coin collection mechanic. It's a simple trigger activated when the player touches an item. I extended this logic to allow the player to collect a chip, the core mechanic of this game. I also applied this to the wolves. If the player touches a wolf, it's die. Check out this death animation. It's simple but effective. The player respawns instantly and all characters return to their starting positions. It's another essential mechanic of the game. The main goal of each level is to rescue every sheep. You can't leave anyone behind. It's also important to note that you have to carry them back to safety one by one. Time to design a new level. For this one, I wanted to start the player in a higher position. This forces the player to improve their jumping skills while avoiding wolves. Once all sheep are safe, the level ends and you move to the next stage. Everything looks good, but the wolves and sheep were feeling a bit static. I implemented custom movement for both. Wolves patrol platforms like a classic platformer enemy. They are dangerous, but their movement is predictable. The sheep are similar, but slower and moving randomly. If you look closely at how they move, they look a bit lost, which is exactly what I was going for. After designing a few areas, I realized that keeping every level on a single screen was too limiting. Games like Fire and Ice use that limitation to increase the puzzle difficulty, but since my player has a limited moveset, it felt a bit flat. My new idea was to add a flip-screen transition. My reference for this was The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past, but since that's a top-down game, I had to adapt it for a platformer as Celeste. It was tricky to implement, but I used some AI assistance to help with the logic, and it turned out great. With the flip screen mechanic working, The world finally feels like it has some depth. There is still a long way to go. I need to polish the dog's unique abilities, designing more complex puzzles, and of course, add some music and sound effects to bring this 1-bit world to life. If you have any ideas for mechanics or obstacles a shepherd might face, let me know in the comments. I'm really enjoying the simplicity of this project, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on the 1-bit aesthetic. If you want to follow the development of this unnamed shepherd game, consider subscribing to see the next devlog. Thanks for watching, and I see you in the next video.